or the y. Okay, the y values. Okay, and m here, this m here, the m that I've underlined is the gradient, gradient or the slope. So let me say slope. So when we say slope or gradient, you are talking about the m, the gradient. Okay, the gradient. And then the x here is representing the domain. The x here is representing the domain. And it is also the independent variable. It is also the independent variable. And then plus c, the c here is what we call the intercept. The c here is what we call the intercept. The c here is what we call the intercept. So if we want to represent this on the number line, if you want to represent this on the number line, it looks like this. So this is our y-axis, and this is our what? X-axis. Okay. So now, if our line is like this, okay, so this becomes our line. Okay, where it is cutting the y-axis, okay, is what we call the c, the intercept. Okay, is what we call the c, this side. Okay, let me use a big a bigger pen to do that. Yes, where is cutting the point at y, where the straight line y is equal to mx plus c is cutting the straight line, is what we call what? The intercept, the c here, the c we have here. All right, and the x are the x values on this Cartesian line. Okay, that we have on this Cartesian line, and then we have our y, which is also on the y-axis. Okay, so this is what we call the equation of a straight line. The equation of a straight line. Very good. The equation of a straight line. Good. Now take note of this. Now, every line is made up of what? It's made up of smaller points. Every line, every line that we see here is made up of smaller points. Okay, so it's made up of smaller points. Okay, smaller points, and those smaller we have, okay, those smaller points that we have, we can also get our. So when you have smaller points like this, we can also determine the slope. Okay, when you have a line like this, you can determine the slope m, that slope m, from the graph. From the graph, when you draw your right angle triangle like this, when you draw the triangle like this, and the m is given by, can you give me the equation for finding the equation of a line, finding the slope of a line? Do you know what? Can somebody tell us? Okay, so because okay, who wants to say? Who wants to talk? Okay, let me continue. All right, so m here is equal to, if you want to find the equation or the slope of this equation, is given by what? Delta y over delta what? X. Delta y over delta x. And that is what we have been calling change in y over what? Change in what? X. And this one can also be interpreted as what? It can also be interpreted as what? The delta y over delta x is given by what? Y2 minus what? Y1. All over what? X2. This one I know you know them. X2 minus what? X1. So this is the equation for m. So it is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus what? X1. So if we take any point here, you take any point here, um, let me see. Let me see if I can get a color for the point. If you take any point here, okay. If we take a point here, and then you take another point here, all right. So this one will be my point A. So this one will be my point A. So here I will say this side will be my x2, right? I can say this is my x2. This is my what? Y2. Okay. And then the down one here, I'm putting it here, which will be what? My x1, comma, my what? y1, comma. You see that? Very good. So now this is the equation, or this is the relation representing our system, which is what? Y2 minus y1 all over what? X2 minus what? X1. Okay, so this will give you the equation. So if you have a straight line and you find 2 points on that straight line, okay, or whenever you are given any 2 points, you can determine the what? The slope of that equation. Sorry, of those 2 points. You can determine the slope of those 2 points using the formula m is equal to delta y over delta 2, which is the same as y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus what? X1. Correct. All right. Now let's go. We move on. We move on to this one. Okay. We move on to this one. All right. Now we move on to this equation. Y is equal to mx plus c. This equation, let me circle it. This equation, y is equal to what? Mx plus c. Now we want to find out, now we know how to determine the value of m. Is that okay? Now we want to find out, how do we get the equation? I'm sure some people are asking themselves, so how do we get this equation of a straight line? Okay, so now we want to find out how to get it, how to get the equation of a straight line. Okay, all right. Now let's move on to, let's add another page to it. Good. All right. Good. Good. So now let's go. Let's go. So we have first to draw our line. We draw our line. So if this is our line, okay, good. Now can somebody tell me, this my line is passing through the origin, okay? This my line here is passing through the origin. So if it is passing through the origin, you notice that my slope is what? Is what? Is, no, sorry, not my slope. If it passing through the origin, it tells us that, the equation of it is giving us mx plus c, right? Mx plus c. So if it is passing through the origin, my line is passing through the origin, it tells me that what? My c is equal to what? My c is equal to what? Is it equal to 0? You see that? Because it is passing through the origin, this is y-axis, this is x-axis. So this is the 0 point. The origin is 0 point. So here, it is here that when it is passed, it's cutting at this point. It's cutting at this point. It's cutting it. It's cutting it at this point. That is where we say that it's having what? An intercept of a value. So if we had labeled the value, let's say this side was, let's say we have 1, we have 2, we have 3, we have 4, and then this side is 1, this side is 2, this side is 3. Okay, let me put it, this one is 3, and this side is 4. All right, so you notice that here my intercept for this line is what? 2. Now look at this one. What of if I draw this line? What of if I draw this line? If I draw this particular line, you notice that it is actually cutting the what? Cutting the y-axis at a point in between what? 2 and 1. So here we can see that the intercept c is what? On the graph is what? Is 1.5, approximately 1.5. So this is how we determine the intercept given the graphs. Is that okay? Given the graphs. Good. Now, let us see how we can find y is equal to what? Mx plus c. This very one. Y is equal to the one I've underlined here. Y is equal to mx plus c. Good. Y is equal to mx plus c. So that is our next step. y is equal to mx plus c. Good, let's go. So I hope you can see my screen now. So we move. If you don't understand something quickly, you have to let me know. Okay, you quickly have to let me know.
I can't
Good.
see your screen.
You can see my screen.
Yes, it's saying
So
resource missing field. Please try
Alan,
again.
it is your network. You have to disconnect and then join again. Is that okay? If you can't see the board, you have to disconnect and join again. Okay. All right. With that, you'll be able to see it. All right. Now we move. Okay, good. So we move. So now we want to find how we can get y is equal to what? Y is equal to what? Mx plus c. How do we get to this equation? So that's the next step. So to get to this equation, first you're going to get it from here. All right. You are going to get it from here. So you move. So we move. So our gradient here, m, is giving us what? Delta m, delta y over what? Delta x. Okay. Which is also giving us y2 minus what? Y1 all over what? X2 minus what? X1. Good. X1. Good. X1. So now that we have y is equal to what? Y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. All right. Now let's see what can we do with this. So now we notice that m here is equal to the whole of the one at the right hand side. Okay. So we move to this side and we say that our m now is equal to y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus what? X1. We good? Yeah, we should be good. So m is equal to y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus what? X1. So at this point, what we do is we do what we call, from what we did last 2 weeks, all right? We do what we call cross multiplication. So the m here will multiply. So we are trying to prove, what we are doing now is trying to prove the equation of a straight line, okay? So here, and then at the end of the day, after we have proved, we're going to develop a formula for finding the equation of a straight line. Good. So we have m is equal to y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Good. So we do our cross multiplication. So cross multiplication. Remember, here is over 1. So this one will multiply 1. Then y2 minus y1 will come and multiply the 1. And then m will come and multiply the what? The x2, the x2, the x2 minus x1. So let's see how it goes. So it's going to be m brackets open x2 minus what? X1 should be equal to 1 times 1. So that one, that finally becomes y2 minus what? Y1. Good. 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 This is getting interesting. All right. So now we are here. So m is equal to what? M is equal to x2 minus x1 should be equal to y2 minus what? Y1. So look at this. At this point, we can rearrange the equation. We can bring the right hand side, which is what? Y2 minus y1 to the right hand side, and then we put the left hand side to the right hand side. So finally, we're going to get something like this. Y2 minus y1 should be equal to m into brackets x2 minus what? X1 brackets close. Ha ha ha. Very interesting. So now we are getting closer. We are getting closer to our Derivative. Make sure if you don't understand something, you quickly raise up your hand there. Is that okay? So that you can catch us. You can move along with us. All right. So now remember, I told you that when you have a straight line, every point that you have there, no matter which point you take, will have the same gradient. Will have the same gradient. Is that okay? So since that is so, all that we need, so in finding the equation or in finding the gradient, you only need 2 points. Do you see that? You only need 2 points. So what is important is always try and get your first point. After getting your first point, the second point can be any other points on the number line. Okay? You can pick any other points on the number line. So once you can take any points on the number line, we can now conclude that our y, our equation is now equal to y minus y1 should be equal to m into bracket x minus what? x1. So this is the equation for, or this is the formula for finding the equation of a line. The one I have squared, I have circled around it. Y minus y1 should be equal to m into bracket x minus x1. This is what we call the what? The equation of a straight line. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? So let me make it small for us to see where we started from. For us to see where we started from. Yeah. Yeah. Good. I'm sure you can see. So we started from there, we moved to the gradient, and now we are here. We are now at y minus y1 should be equal to m into bracket x minus x1. Good. Any question for me before we proceed? Any question for me before we proceed? Today, a lot of people didn't attend the class. Kojo is struggling with his network. Kojo is struggling with his network. Kojo is struggling. Kojo, I could see you are struggling with your network, isn't it? Kojo is struggling with his network. All right. Yes, any questions for me? Rochester, do you have questions for me? Alexia, do you have any questions for me? Brian, do you have questions for me? Mustafa, do you have questions for me? Gabriella or Gameli Kivin, do you have questions for me? Stephen Nkrumah, do you have questions for me? Kojo, do you have questions for me? I could see you are struggling with your network, right? Yes, any questions for me? Can I proceed?
Yes, sir, you can proceed.
Okay, all right. Okay, these people, they are telling us after 10 minutes they will cut us off again. So please, after 10 minutes, then we join again. Okay, all right. So it looks like everything is going smooth. All right, everything is going smooth. All right. So now, proceeding with where we ended. Now it tells us that if you want to find the equation of a straight line given any 2 points, this is the formula to use. So we want to try this with a question. Okay, we want to try this with a question. So because after doing all this, at the end of the day, we need to get a question, all right, so that we know that okay, what we are doing, we've actually mastered the process. So let's proceed. So we have given the point, you've been given the point, you've been given the point. Find the equation of a line between the points 2, 3, and then what? 2, 3, and then 1, 4. 2, 3, and then 1, 4. 2, 3, and then 1, 4. So now, when they give you a question like this, you ask yourself, so how am I going to go about this? I'm sure with this one, some of you have mastered the process long time. Okay, so if you have, that is positive, that is good. All right. If you are not, then we have to learn it together. Is that okay? All right. So now let's do it together. Then I'll give you one for you to try hands on or by yourself. Okay. So now you have been given these 2 points, and they say find the equation for between these 2 points. Okay. So all that you have to do is one first. The first thing to do when you're given these 2 points, 2, 3, 1, 4. So you decide to keep any of them as your first point or your second point. All right. So in our case, we want to use 2, 3 as our first point, or you can decide to use 1, 4 as your first point. Okay. So we want to use 2, 3 as our first point, and then 1, 4 as our what? Second point. Is that okay? Good. All right. So now let's go. So once you have identified our points, all that we do, the first step is to find the gradient. The first step is to find the gradient. And how do we determine the gradients between 2 points? To determine the gradients between 2 points, we use the formula m is equal to what? Y2 minus what? Y1 all over what? X2 minus what? X1. And that is equal to.
Uh,
Now, since we say, yes, sir.
is it the same thing like the slope of a line?
Yeah, so that's the slope of a line. So you remember when we did that, we said m is the same as the slope of a line or the gradient of a line. So they are the same. If you don't say gradient, you say slope. Are
Okay.
you with me? Good, good. So they are the same. Okay. All right. So all that you do, and so now you Kojo is still struggling with his network. My bad for him. It's bad for him. Yeah. So we move. So we have now selected our points already. So we don't need to struggle. So our point two, x2, y2 is actually this guy. It's actually these people. The one I have put the tick on top of it. So our y2 is what? Is 4 minus y1. And y1 is what? 3, which is at the other side. All over. The other one is x2 is what? X2 is what? X2 is 1. And then y1 is what? Sorry, x1 is what? 2. So that's minus 2. So let's calculate and see what we're going to get. 4 minus 3 is what? 1. All over what? 1 minus 2 is what? Minus 1. Okay? Minus 1. And then 1 over minus 1 is equal to minus what? 1. Good. So this is our m. Our m is equal to what? Our m is equal to minus 1. So good. We are almost halfway through our question. We are almost halfway through our question. So now that we have gotten our gradient, the next step to do is to go and pick or go and call or recall our equation or the formula for finding the equation of a line. Okay. So the formula for finding the equation of a line, you all know, is giving us y minus what? Y1 should be equal to m into bracket x minus what? X1. Good. X1. Good. So now let's substitute in them values and see what we will get. Okay, so here, which one was our x1, y1? So you take any of the points. So you can take your first point to do that. So which is what? 2 and 3. So our points are 2 and 3, which I've written here and circled. So we move. So we move. So we move. So our y is still y minus our y1. Y1 is what here? Wow, I mistakenly, whilst I was typing, I mistakenly pressed on something and it has cleared everything. Aish. Okay, so we are back here. So we are back here. All right. So we move. So y. So here our y1 was what? Our y1 was 2. Okay, so you put 2 there. Y1 was 3.
So,
So you put 3. Yeah. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
oh, I just said 3.
Okay, thank you. So our y1 is 3. 3. Let me write that 3 well. Which is equal to our m. M is what? M is we had -1. Okay, put -1 there. So we have x minus x12 was what? 2. So you put 2 there. So at this junction, or at this juncture, we say we simplify it. We simplify our equation just like we're doing last 2 weeks. So that is y minus 3 should be equal to, we expand the bracket to the -1 here. So we're going to have negative x and then -1 times. So -1 times negative what? 2 will give us what? +2. That's where we say nege po. Good. Nege po. All right. So now we want to make y the subject. So therefore, y is now equal to, now we have negative x here plus what? Plus the 2 is here. Then this -3 here will move to the other side, to the right hand side. And it is negative here. When it crosses the equal sign, it becomes what? Positive. So it becomes +3. Good. So going further, our equation now is equal to what? Y is equal to what? Negative x plus what? Plus 5. Ta-da! Ta-da! So this is our equation. This is the equation of a what? Of the equation between the point 2 and 2, 5. Sorry, 2, 3 and what? 1, 4. 1, 4. Okay, so you could see that if we are to relate it to this, y is equal to what? Mx plus c. Okay, if you are comparing, can you see that they are pepe? Can you see that they are the same? So